Good morning everybody. Well, today myself and the boys are on a new adventure. We're going to walk part of the Annandale Way, which starts off in Moffat. It walks up round to what's it called, the Beattock, and back down and round following the River Annan. But that's not the stretch we're going to do today. Today we're going to start off in Beattock, and we're going to do a little bit of the walk. It's only about 5 or 6 miles because we're just easing ourselves into doing some larger walks later on this week. But we're going to see if we can find a couple of hill forts. One's called Knock Hill and the other one's called Beattock Hill. And today, of course, we're bringing our little furry friends with us, so let's introduce them to you. Then we have Ash, who's going to come with us as well. So joining us today is Blackthorn, the wonderful little Willow, who's just found something really interesting to sniff. We have started our walk. It's a beautiful day, which is bodes well for the rest of the week. It's supposed to be a heat wave this week in parts of the UK. So we're in June 2026 and today is the 20th. So tomorrow is going to be the longest day or shortest night. So as we continue down our little way, what we're going to do is walk down this path down here, and that in front of us is the West Coast main line, and it's surprising, well, I'd say it's surprisingly busy. It shouldn't be because it's a West Coast main line, but I'm sure last time we stayed here there wasn't so many trains as we've encountered, which is interesting because Ash doesn't like trains, but it's becoming a little bit calmer with them, so that's quite nice. And we're going to head through that tunnel, pick up a road, a fair bit of road walking to begin with on this journey, and then we'll head off into the, do they call them fells in Scotland? Not sure that they do. As you can see, this path is rather wet, but rather beautiful. The reflections are absolutely gorgeous, especially in this dappled light that we've got. It's been quite wet over the past couple of days up here, which is why this path has flooded. I've been here a few times and it does tend to be rather wet, this path. There's a little beck, or a burn, that we're just approaching. I don't know whether that overflows or not, but this is a wet path. Not the most exciting of views, I think you'll agree. This little turn that's coming up towards where the puddles are, this is where I think we'll be coming back. If you look through it, that's now, so we scan around here, that's now a community woodland. And it's very pretty down there. There's a little lake which we're walking past later, which is why Blackthorn's pulling towards it, because he thinks that's the way we should be going, but we're not. Where we head off the path, or off the road, and go up, climb a little bit higher up, and start heading towards the Annandale Way, which we'll pick up. We'll go up to the top of here, follow this road. Is it a road? Yeah, it is a road, isn't it, really? I'll show you in a moment. Then we cut through a farm and pick up the Annandale Way that way. So let's have a look at where we're going now. There's just a little track. Coming up to the top of the road section now. When we get to the very top, we're going to turn right and then going to walk downhill and lose all the height that we just gained. But it's not the highest part of the walk. That's when we get to Beattock Fort, nearing the end of the walk. even when we go and have a look at Knock Hill Fort, that's not quite as high. But it'd be interesting to see if we can see the hill where Beattock Fort is on. Still on the road that never seems to end. It can't be too far. So we're going to leave the path that I originally planned, which was, you can see the road behind me, that would go down there for another 200 or 300 metres, and then we'll pick up the Annandale Way. But what I've decided to do is to go to Knock Fort, is to go through onto this grassland here and see if we can head up to it there. The map is showing quite a large number of boundaries, fences, field, walls, that sort of thing. See if we can get through. We might not be able to. And hopefully around about over there, just behind my right shoulder, is where the fort is. Again, so off-piste adventures, taking advantage of the right to roam in Scotland, which is a very progressive law that allows you to wander the countryside at will, really. Let's see how we get on. Who's thirsty? Blackthorn, where are you going, buddy? Ash, are you thirsty? Come on, Will. See if Ash wants some. So just on the brow of the hill, around about there's a clump of trees, and that is where the fort's supposed to be, or near there. So let us set off and see if we... Of course, because we've gone off piste, there's no footpath, which makes walking a little bit harder, but we know where we're going to go, so it's just a matter of finding a nice route to get there. And sheep are very good at this, and they quite kindly create trods for us to follow. So what we're trying to do is skirt around the sheep, because we don't want to disturb them with their young. So we're slightly off from where we want to go. I want to go to that little pimple just back in the middle of the screen. So I'm going to start heading up shortly, but I'm also keeping an eye on thistles as well, because Willow's only tiny and we don't want him to get thistled to death. We're almost there. Look at all these ladies and their babies. But we're not going to walk through the middle of them, because what we're heading for is that trig point. That marks the top and also the fort. So it'd be interesting to see if we can see any defensive works or anything like that up there. Now we're approaching the top. There's the trig point. We'll get to the top up here. The boys will get a treat. I might even have a treat as well, because I brought some shortbread with me. And we might see if we can get the drone up. So apparently you're supposed to touch the top of a trig point. So I don't want to break tradition. Hello, trig point. There we go. Absolutely wonderful day. Well, you probably can't hear me over the wind. I do like the way these cameras make the skies look so dramatic. So here we are, the top of Knock Hill Fort. And apparently, when they assessed it in 1973, they decided it actually wasn't finished. And it was probably due to people keep coming up and rubbing out the stone and whatever they were making the hill fort out of. The ditches aren't very clear. Well, not to me. Not that I'm a historian or anything like that, know about these sort of things, only what the wonderful Google tells me. It was too windy to get the drone up and too disturbing for Ash, so there is no pictures from up here flying around the fort. But it is still a beautiful day, and we're going to head off back down now, pick up the Annandale Way again and head towards Beattock farm. let's go. How cute is that? Unless they're planning to actually stop being vegetarian and come and attack us, in which case it's not cute. That's rather beautiful. Hello ladies and babies. So we're trying to find a cairn, and the cairn is over in that field over there. And where we are is very, very boggy and mossy and wet and horrible. So just trying to find a way to pick our way through this and see if we can find a way to get over the field boundary and see if we can find the cairn. Well, we've found the cairns. There's one over there, there's one there, and there's one there. But we can't get over to them because there's this wall in the way. Now, I was thinking, could I send the drone over and risk really upsetting Ash? But I think it might be too windy. Or shall we just give it a go anyway? After looking at the cairns, we're now going to head back towards the Annandale Way, as was the plan, and then see if we can find Beattock Fort directly in the middle of the screen. Hopefully you should be able to see a load of sheep in front of a gate. That's the gate we want. Now if we just follow the field on after that, that takes us back onto the Annandale Way. And when we're on the way, I shall explain to you more about the Annandale Way. We're approaching Dogburn now, and we've got to work out a way to get over, and when we get over, that's when we pick up the Annandale Way. But this is very wet round here. I'm surprised because we've got bilberries, and I thought bilberries like the dry. But anyway, let us see. We'll walk over and we'll catch you shortly. Here we are at Dogburn. It's definitely a burn, or a stream as we'd call them in England, and it's quite full. See if we can find a narrow bit for us to hop over. Okay, should we get you over, Willow? And how about you, Ashley? Don't let us go with it. We are back on the Annandale Way with a skylark singing and is heading towards Beattock Hill Fort. I can't remember how much I said about the Annandale Way, so I'm going to explain a little bit about it as we walk on. Are you ready, Ashy? Let's go. So the Annandale Way starts in Moffat, and it runs for 56 miles or 90 kilometres to a place called Newby Barnes near Annan on the Solway Firth. It doesn't go direct from Moffat to Annan. It has a loop which takes you to the, I think it's called the Beef Tub, which is a big cove, quarry possibly, just north of Moffat. And apparently that's where, if you're smuggling cattle, that's where to go and hide them, because it's a good place to hide them. The walk itself, they recommend about 4 or 5 days to walk it in its entirety from Moffat to Annan, and it's certainly something that I'll be interested in doing at some point in the future, camping along the way. Recommended times are mid-March to mid-October. Although I bet those dates will expand because of how the weather is becoming a little bit warmer. I think the first marker we've seen. The path. There we go. Tells us to go straight ahead. Come on, Tony. This is where we turn right. We have another boggy section. You're a dish. Come on, boys, forwards. So the Annandale Way is classed as moderate, the long distance walk. But there's something which I'm approaching to now, which caught me out the first time I did this little section. It is very tempting when you go through the gate, which I don't know which was pointing to the left, right, to take a higher path along that ridge there. And if you do, you'd actually drift off the path, and you miss this gate which we're approaching now. So it goes into like a very strange field. It's very narrow but very long. It's almost like in sort of at the borders of Cumbria and Yorkshire. It's almost like one of the drovers' paths where you get like a lane between fields, but it's a little bit wider than you normally would see in either of those counties. So anyway, it's very tempting to miss this and head towards those trees that are on the horizon, and if you do, you've got to double back. Now this is the gate that you don't want to miss. And this is our path next. Lovely babbling brook. It's a lot easier to cross over than the dog burn. Even Ash and Willow managed it without having to be carried. This is very, very wet, so I'm going to walk up next to the wall, which is higher up and a lot drier. So we're just going to follow this wall now, which is good news because at the far end of the field there's some cows. So this keeps us away from the cows, I hope. So I hope we're going to the green woodland on the left and not the slightly mucky woodland towards the centre. One of the final parts without being on the road now. So we carry on walking up here, we walk past this wood and then we go into a little road, and from there we'll find our way onto Beattock Hill Fort. I'll tell you a little bit more about it once we get there. Heading towards the road now. We get to this gate, we're going to turn left, just head up a little bit, and we're going to walk up to that there, which is the Hill Fort. Meanwhile, towards us, that's probably Beattock, the village. You might just be able to make it out on this camera. It'll be a little bit small and in the distance. Some information there about the Beattock Hill Fort. And we're now on part of the Southern Upland Way as well. It's another long distance walk which I quite fancy doing at some point. So we're just making our way up to the top, and then we'll have a look at what we can see. Well, this is it, the top of Beattock Hill Fort. And we have a look round. You can see the village of Beattock in the valley bottom. Then we have the various hills and fells of the borders, and the far distance, I think that's the Cheviots, might be wrong. If we continue round, we have more hills. The Southern Uplands. This is the last of the viewing points that we wanted to come and see on the walk. There's a couple that we wanted to do. One was the Knott Hill Fort, which wasn't really that much remaining of it. I put some details in the description about that. And then there's this one here, which is the Beattock Hill Fort. And we got to these using the Annandale long distance walk. And we'll be walking back into Beattock, which is where we're staying, along part of the Southern Upland Way as well. I think the two paths converge at that particular point. It's been an absolutely gorgeous day. The weather's been fantastic. The wind has been refreshing. You can probably hear the wind. Hopefully you can hear me over the wind. But it's been great to have that wind to keep us cool as we're walking, especially if you've got furry coats on. Yeah, so this is the end of the highlight. But we've still got some walking to do. We've probably got a mile or so to do before we get back to the cottage. So we'll check in before we actually get back to the cottage. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please think about subscribing and liking this video so more people get to see what the adventures of Ash, Willow and Blackthorn and myself are. And I'd love to hear what you think about it. Have you done the Annandale Way or the Southern Upland Way? I'd love to hear about that, because it's one of the long distance walks that I hope probably to do next year. Now Blackthorn's got older, he's won his Blackthorn, so by the time we start doing that he'll be a full adult, so he'll be able to do longer distances. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to doing that. Well, we're back on road walking now as we head back into the village. And then, well, it sounded like I was signing off at the fort at the top there, but like I said, we've got a little bit more walking to do, but to get back into the village. So we're going to walk down into the village, and then we're going to cut through the caravan park and walk next to the lake, and then from there we'll go back underneath the railway line and get back to the cottage. So that's what we're going to do over the next half an hour, I would think. Maybe about 5 minutes for you guys. Let us see what happens. Day 20. How about you, Willow? You had a good day too? There's that one come out. Little Blackthorn there, playing board games. Aren't you, Thorny? You like playing board games? Snakes and ladders and drafts. Is that good? Let me just stop for a little bit there to take in that view, finish off some biscuits and have a drink. It's a beautiful view. I'm just stopping for Ash to drink out of a puddle. Of course he was offered water like all the others, but he decided that water wasn't for him. He has to have puddle water. Time to go through a gate. See what it's got to say about this environment. Up here, that's the Southern Upland Way. Down here, that's the Annandale Way. Which at the moment, we're almost back in the village. Well, say almost, we're not actually. So we're going to walk down here, as we are doing, and that takes us to near the big hotel. And then we turn down right and walk towards the village. Over the bridge we go. Come on, boys. Let's not sniff that. Come on. We've got right away. Might as well cross it over and pick up the footpath. And to you can see the West Coast main line. We'll go over there. And that goes up to Glasgow, and there's also a branch later on which takes you all the way to Edinburgh. So we'll meet you up when we turn down into the caravan park. So this is the main street in Beattock. And what I was going to do was walk through the campsite, but I've decided against that because as we get further down here we'll walk past the school. As you walk past the school we follow the road to the left would take us to the campsite. However, the lane to the right takes us back to the cottage. So you end up doing is going through the campsite and walking past the lake, which is very nice. We did that last night as part of a walk. But then you have to double back on yourself to get to the cottage. So that doesn't seem worthwhile. So what we'll do is we'll just take the fork to the left and walk directly to the cottage. It's been a long walk already. How many we've done? 8 miles, is it? Yes, we've just done 8 miles. Considering it's only supposed to be a 5-mile walk, it's a significant difference. So we'll do that. The boys get back earlier and they can have something to eat and the rest. So here we are, final stretch. And if you look on our right, that's the Kids Play Park. Yeah, so big purling plot. And the white houses in the distance is where we're staying. And the final few hundred metres until we get to our accommodation. So I hope you found this an interesting walk. I'll put some information in the description about the forts that we saw. I'll see if I can find some information about the cairn, but I don't think I probably will because it's very difficult to find information about cairns. And if the drone footage worked out, I'll post the drone footage as well about it. So this is been our walk from Beattock along the Annandale Way, visiting Knott Hill Fort and also Beattock Hill Fort. Always interested to hear what your comments are. If you've done this, a similar walk to this, if you've done the Annandale Way or the Southern Upland Way, what you thought about it, what you enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy about it, and we shall see you next time.